Heshvan, corresponding to the 26th of November 2024. Today's special breakfast and class graciously sponsored by Mr. Clemente Rahamim Beda Hamuya Kohen, Le'ilui Nishmat, his beloved mother, Sara Bat Mini, Aliyah Shalom. Iratzon, that through the words of Torah and the Berachot, her neshama have an aliyah in Gan Eden. Amen. Additionally, today's class graciously sponsored by the Atiyeh family for the Refuah Shelema of Abud Ben Fortuné, also including the Refuah Shelema Lis Harav Abraham Yaakov Haim Ben Leah, Menachem Ben Belina, Heleni Orna Bat Hen Hannah, among the Holim of all of Am Israel. Now, let's discuss a couple of topics that the Gemara of today on Tuesday brings. And the topic of today, it is not a new topic, but this happens to be the menu of the day. If we have a special breakfast, and for those watching live, you know what it means, special breakfast, the full package. So the Gemara also today delivers a full package. The benefits of getting married. B'ezrat Hashem, you find a good, suitable wife soon for the young men, and the young ladies may find a suitable husband as well. And those that are married, to remain married, to remain happily married. It is not an oxymoron. Happiness and marriage, they are actually supplemental to each other. And with that being said, let's the Gemara do the talking. I will just read and explain accordingly. The Gemara writes, and it says many interesting concepts, but I like to go straight to the marriage because I think that this is something that many of us can relate and can benefit from it. Thank you so much. Amar Rabbi Tanhum, Amar Rabbi Hanilai, Kol Adam she'en lo isha. Literally means a man that has no wife, meaning a person that is not married. Now, I'm going to give you a warning in advance. The Gemara uses a very powerful language when it comes to the topic of married, or rather being single. Don't take it the wrong way, but the Gemara's intention is to tell me what are we missing in life when a person is by themselves. And we don't minimize the fact that a person also will not marry just the first shidduch being offered. Okay, Joy Mehila, can you ask them to bring a few more chairs? Thank you so much. Thank you. The breakfast looks magnificent from here. So enjoy. I'll talk, you eat, and then I'll eat later. Don't worry. They always take care of me somehow. Anyways, so obviously the topic of shidduchim, the topic of finding a suitable wife, it's not something that happens automatic. Sometimes changes in the life of the person, according to our holy rabbis, thank you so much, can bring a different type of shidduch to the person. It also connects, thank you so much, gentlemen. I think that's very good. Thank you. You can put two in front of me. This table is too empty. You can put one more chair here. I like to see people sitting while they eat. It is good halachically. It is good physically and emotionally as well. There are more chairs coming. Thank you, Max. Hazaku Baruch. Faddalu. Just be careful. You're entering into the Radio Shack zone. Wonderful. You remember Radio Shack? You remember Radio Shack? Hazaku Baruch. You miss Radio Shack? I remember Radio Shack. I know. It was a beautiful, like a candy store for me. Very beautiful. Anyway, so the Gemara is going to tell us. You can sit next to me as well, gentlemen. Faddal. No, it doesn't cost you more. Faddal. It's fine. As long as I'm able to move my hands, I'm okay. Anyways, the Gemara tells us what are the benefits of getting married. Before we go any further, I'm sure that some may ask, how do I know if I'm ready to get married? Or what is the right age to get married? The truth is that each person will feel it. Each person will feel in the neshama if the young lady or the young man they're going out with, they feel this connection. But the way it's written in the Living Emunah by Rabbi David Asher on the topic of Shidduchim, that at the moment that it needs to happen, it will happen. Even though you may say, but nothing is happening, nothing is happening, we understand that. But one thing the person should never stop doing, number one, is praying. Praying doesn't have an expiration date. You can pray as much as you want, as much as you can, and Be'ezat Hashem, we already know from this week's Torah portion how Ishaq and Rivka, they were married, they were barren for 20 years, and 20 years later, suddenly HaKadosh Baruch Hu blesses them with their children, the way the Parashah describes very clearly. But what is one of the main benefits of marriage? So many people will say to have children. I don't deny that. That's an automatic reaction, hopefully. Hopefully. Now, B'ezat Hashem, sometimes person gets married very late, and then he got to go through adoption or medical conditions, IVF, IUI. This is not the topic of today, the topic of procreation, but let's go based on the menu of the Gemara. Number one on the list of the Gemara, and I read the language, Sharui Belo Simcha. Happiness is lacking. In other words, yeah, you are happy. We see people in the room that may not be married, but they are happy. Baruch Hashem, it's good that they are happy. Not being happy is not good. Garesh et ha'atzmut. God forbid, a person is afflicted by sadness or depression, divorce from it. Run away from it, because that definitely brings the persons down, Haz v'shalom. But the Gemara will explain in a moment why happiness is connected to marriage. And I don't want any wise guy to say, Rabbi, if you would have seen my marriage, I'm not happy. You're not happy, it's your fault. Thank you for agreeing. You're not happy in your marriage, is your fault. It's a pasuk in the Torah. Besimach et ishto. It's a verse, it's not a midrash. I heard somebody told me, TikTok. No. Besimach et ishto is a pasuk in the Torah. The husband obligation is to make the wife happy. You make your wife happy, you're going to get reciprocity. So the pasuk writes, Besamachta ata ubetecha. It comes the verse about the holidays, and it says, you will be happy, you and your home. Ask Rashi, what does it mean? Your home? Zo ishto. Your wife, it's your home. Basically, if you want to calibrate, or if you want to measure how happy your home is, how happy your wife is. And I'm not saying that it could not be external scenarios or family drama outside of the marriage that can create, Haz v'shalom, some type of tension, some types of bitterness or darkness, Haz v'shalom. But we're talking about some of the responsibility of the husband and wife relationship. Continues the Gemara. Now, Belo Beracha, without blessing. A young man may say, oh, I'm very successful. I pay my rent, I pay the lease of my car, I cover my insurance, I have food to eat. Hazako Baruch. You're just living, you're not successful, you're covering your expenses. That's not considered success, right? Success means when the person does above and beyond. Obviously, in our days, you cover your monthly bills and you have no debt at the end of the month. Hazaku Baruch. You're doing great, right? But the Gemara says, true, but you're only getting a dosage. You're not getting the full version of your blessing. Why not? The Pasuk says, Le'aniyah beracha el betecha, that the Almighty will deposit the blessing to your home. What does it mean? Betecha zo ishtecha. Again, the Pasuk says, if you are married, your wife becomes a magnet for godly blessing. Unbelievable. Further, Belo Tova, you're missing something good. Where do we learn that being married is something good? Some people get divorced. If there is a mitzvah in the Torah to get divorced, don't run to do it. Don't get ideas, God forbid. Okay? But there is a mitzvah to give the get. The mitzvah is not to get divorced. You follow me? The mitzvah is not to get divorced. The mitzvah is, in the event, God forbid, that the relationship does not work after they try. Usually most people don't wake up one day and say, I had it. Probably something has been harboring. And if the Torah puts a concept of giving a get to the wife, it means that the Torah understands that is a possibility that the relationship between a husband and wife may not work rather the way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu intended. How do we learn such a concept? From the Gemara in Gittin. The Gemara at the end of Gittin says the following: Kol hamegaresh et ishto, a husband that divorces the wife, Mizbeach zoreh alav demaot, the Mizbeach cries. And then you'll ask, I don't understand. The Torah tells me to give a get. And then you cry for giving the get? Sure, it's very emotional. I, as a rabbi, I have witnessed people, male or female, breaking down and crying when it came the moment to give the get to their spouse. I don't recall seeing anyone making a Sa'udat Hoda'ah after that. Maybe one exception. Nobody made a Thanksgiving party to God because he got divorced from his wife. The opposite. You see that it takes a toll to the body and to the neshama. But I respect, occasionally could be scenarios that regretfully, and as a rabbi, unfortunately, I do come across randomly, I hope, not often, of the scenarios that a divorce is halachically required. If God forbid something inappropriate took place, etc. But obviously, each case needs to be handled by its own merit. Many times people call me, I need a get. Okay? I don't run to give a get, to do a get. I may delegate it, but the first thing I ask is this is it? There is no other way to do it? Or maybe there is something that can be done. Maybe they speak to a professional. Maybe they speak to a rabbi that deals with Shalom Bayit cases. Maybe it's a matter that the way Rabbi Zamir Cohen from Hidabrut, I'm sure you heard of him, he says a very powerful statement. He says, there is no such a thing as a not successful couple. There is something that the couples are not guided accordingly or properly. You understand? I think what the great rabbi is trying to say is similar to the Gemara that says the Mizbeach cries. Why the Mizbeach cries? Short answer, because in God's book, so to speak, this husband and wife technically had the potential of making the relationship to work. Meaning God, Hashem, believed in the couple. That's why the language of the Gemara, when it talks about how husband and wife are able to attract godliness into the relationship, the language of the Gemara is Ish Beisha Zachu Shechina Sheruya Benehem. If you ask the audience, what is the meaning of this statement that I just said? What is the meaning? Most people will say, husband and wife, zahu. What's the meaning of the word zahu? Married, Hazako Baruch. What do you say? Married. Hakam Bashi, what do you say? Married. What do you say, Junior? Married. What about you, Professor? Doctor? Merited. Beautiful translation. You know what is the real meaning of the word zahu? They polish themselves. Shemen Zait Zach. Katit Lamaor. They purify themselves. What's the meaning of you purify? You went to the mikveh? Of course, but besides going to the mikveh, they polish their personality. They work with each other. You like it? You have to come to sunny Florida, 72 degrees, to listen to this shiur. Chazako Baruch. Now you understand. Now you're going to look for a wife. You're going to look for midot, like Abraham Avinu. Abraham Avinu in last week's Torah portion. Did you realize how many extra pesukim last week's parasha had to replay the movie of Eliezer? We spend more pesukim in Eliezer telling these adventures and repeating them. Why? You could have told me Eliezer when came back with Rivka, but the Torah says Yafeh Sihatan Shel Obdei Abotenu Akedoshim. It says through the conversation, through the statements of Eliezer, you learn so many things for life. And one of the main lessons we learned from Eliezer was that when you look for a wife, besides the kosher background and every basic investigation that people do, research on the midot of the person. That's what Abraham Avinu teaches us. That's what Eliezer teaches us when he went to look for a wife for Ishaq. I'll tell you, we didn't speak much about Eliezer, which according to some opinions was the son of Nimrod or the grandson of Nimrod. But you know that Eliezer really wanted his daughter to marry Ishaq. So imagine yourself, you are the father of this young lady, you want to marry your daughter to the son of your master Abraham, and Abraham Avinu says, your daughter is not good for me. Not because she wasn't a good girl, she was a great girl, but because she comes from Canaan, there was like a gene, let's call it, Gene, right? A gene that work with Ishaq Avinu. In America today and in Israel, there is an institution called Dor Yesharim. You heard of Dor Yesharim? You know what they do? They do genetic testing before shidduchim to make sure that both husband and wife or future husband and wife are not carrier of a certain type of gene that may cause, God forbid, situations in the future. Yes, Tay-Sachs and Company. Today the list is getting longer by the week. If you go to the website, they'll tell you all the things that they check for. And the way they do it is very clean, very professional. It's done in an anonymous basis. They don't know your name. You apply, they give you a number, and that's your file number. So when they're going to do a shidduch, they do a research. Good morning, I'm calling to investigate about case number 371927 DEJ. Okay, and who is the other number? ABC. It's not Social Security, it's a specially computer generated number to avoid any way of finding out who they are. It's done very, very, yes, but it's a different number. Because Social Security, you use it for your mortgage, for your bank, for your credit card, for your driver license. This is a custom-made number, computer generated. You know, sometimes you go to a website and they give you a password, right? And the password is so complicated that most of the time, what do? Choose my own passport, my password. I'm not going to remember 18 digits, make up. But in this case, they give it to you and they say, good to go. Or they say, no, there is similarities, don't proceed. So in this case, when Eliezer needs to do the Dori Yesharim test, what does he look for? Hesed, kindness. He says, Abraham Avinu says, we learn it on Shabbat, even though you may say, but Rabbi, look who her father was, Betuel, gangster. Who is her brother? Lavan, another gangster. And this you're going to marry? Abraham Avinu says, the environment we cannot change. But if we take the person out of the toxic environment and we see that a person has this natural inclination to do good, it's good enough for me to work with. And that's how Ishaq and Rivka got married. Next, so the question that we left pending was, how do we know that being single is not good? Is actually a pasuk in the Torah in Bereshit. Lo tov heyot ha'adam. I don't believe it. I opened the page. Miracle. You saw it. Did I flip the pages, doctor? Divine providence. Miracle. Okay, God, you make me a miracle now. Hazaku Baruch. Thank you. This is not get you off the hook. Release the hostages. Make peace in Israel. And send Mashiach now. Okay, let's hope. Mazel Tov. Were they waiting for Thanksgiving weekend? Anyways, what the pasuk says, for those watching live in iTorah, I open the Chumash and I open it exactly in the pasuk that the Gemara is quoting. This is a mega miracle that we all witness. Okay, I hope that the miracle did not come with a price tag. Because the Gemara writes, when miracles are being performed, they come with a price tag. But I like to challenge that statement at this second because the miracle happened for the sake of the class. So Shamayim, I didn't do it for myself. I didn't hit the lottery. I didn't get a police ticket. This was the Shem Shamayim. Obviously, who am I to challenge? God forbid. But I'm saying that hopefully Shamayim will see it the way we see it. So let's read very quickly the pasuk. The pasuk talks about the creation of mankind. Vayomer Hashem Elokim lo tov heyot ha'adam levado e'aseh lo ezer kenegdo. God said it's not good to be for the man to be alone. So the Gemara says belo tov belo tova. So you're missing. E'aseh lo ezer kenegdo. Rashi says, I don't understand. Ezer kenegdo. It doesn't make sense. I'm asking you, how is outside? Sunny, dark. Does it make sense? So, oxymoron, thank you. Ezer kenegdo. A helper, Ezer means helper. Kenegdo, against you. So Rashi says, make up your mind. Is your wife your best friend or your worst enemy? Rashi says, it all depends. Zacha, Rashi says, Ezer. Again, what's the word? Zacha. What did we say before Zacha means? We said married, literally. But here, what do we say? If the man works on himself, Zacha, then he became a better person, Ezer. So your wife is the one that helps us to become better. Lo Zacha. But if the man says, I'm the man of the house, I pay the bills, don't tell me what to do, God forbid. That means that a person is a big shot, is arrogant, probably is a narcissist if he talks that way. So he's not interested in changing. He believes that the world needs to change for him. Kenegdo leilahem. Your wife will go to war. That's simple. So you know what Rashi writes? That all Shalom Bayit issues can be taken care of if there is some level of humility, some level of anava, a bit of sablanut, right? Patience, a bit of understanding. That's why the Torah writes, don't worry, I'm not going to do another miracle because I know that the miracle that I'm looking for, it will not happen. Guarantee it will not happen. You know why it will not happen? Because I need Homash Devarim, and this is Bereshit. So I can. No, don't get it. Don't get it because then no. The pasuk says, "Lo tenasun et Hashem Elokechem." You're not allowed to test God. So this is one minor miracle. Okay, I got a minor miracle. You know, Baruch Hashem. It's not a minor, but it's a beautiful. I'm so thankful, Baruch Hashem, that we all saw the hand of the Almighty. But the bottom line, it says the Gemara further in Eretz Israel they had a largest list than in Babel. So in Babel, we discuss not complete happiness, no complete blessing, no complete goodness. Obviously, you can be single and you have a lot of blessings, but perhaps we only are receiving a sample. And the real blessing, it will manifest when we do have a real need in our life. It's like the laws of Hazanut. The halakha discusses some of the requirements for the Hazanim, especially high holidays. During the weekday, an occasional Shabbat, okay, the person is single, okay. But during the high holidays, what the halakha says, Ra'ui means is suitable, is the right thing, to be married, to be with children. Why? The Gemara writes that Shehi behem, I'll explain in a moment, Shehi behem teluim bo, behu talui, bemi she'amar, behaya ha'olam. The Gemara says the wife and the children are dependent on the husband. And the husband is dependent upon the one that created the world. In other words, that the fact that a person understands that a wife and children are dependent on the husband is able to understand the Hazan in this case, hey, the Sibur is depending on my prayers. So therefore, he will make the prayers more meaningful, etc. Bima'arava, at the west, that means in Eretz Israel, they say, Velo Torah, Velo Homa, without Torah, without a wall. Now, what does the meaning of the concept of Torah? Comes Iyov Mechila, and it says, Ha'im en ezrati bi vetushi'a nideha mimeni. It says the concept of the Torah. The Mefarshim explains, Sarich ani la'asok v'sarche beti umzonotai. I need to provide, as we said before, to the needs of my wife and children. Betushiyah, a Torah mishtakach mimeni. So the Torah, it becomes secondary in my life. Belo homa dichtiv nekeva tesovev gever. Let me ask you a question. Did you ever go to an Ashkenazic wedding and the bride makes 7 akafot? Sephardic doesn't do that tradition. Ashkenaz does the tradition of 7 circles. You ever ask yourself why the bride makes the 7 circles, usually escorted by her mother, the mother-in-law, right? And they use the candles and they sing songs, la 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 la, right? La 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 la, right? They do 7 akafot. Why they do 7 akafot? Why the 7 akafot? There are many answers. One answer is, like he said, to wrap him up. You know what the Gemara writes? Nekeva tesovev gever. The wife wraps up the husband. Now, to some people may say, wrap him on the finger. But in this case, the Gemara says, bring spiritual protection to the husband. Shemishmarto min ahet, that blocks the husband of acting inappropriately. Because the husband says, how can I do such a thing? If I'm married, I have a wife at home, goes to the mikveh, holiness, godliness, purity. And also it says, Homa. What is Homa? Homa hasobevet et ha'ir umeshamertah min hasonim. The walls that protects a city overall and also brings protection from the enemies. Who is the enemy in this case? The Gemara calls the Yetzer Hara Soneh, the enemy of the person. Why? Because he looks for us to fall. But the fact that a person is married, that thought alone, you know what? I need to be more careful. The way I behave, the way I interact, the way I talk, what I see, what I hear, what I'm tempted to do, and all these thoughts do brings a certain level of spiritual protection to the husband that can only be achieved only by the holiness of marriage. Rabba Bar'ula Amar Belo Shalom. It says the person does not live a tranquil life. Where do we learn that from? Pasuk in Yom. Biyadata ki shalom ohalecha. It says, and you will know that there is peace in your tent. What's the meaning of the tent? The pasuk says, no miracle. I was about to open up another time the Chumash. No, I'm not going to tell you. No, I don't want to use my lifelines, you know. Okay, just open a random page. No, just open a random page. Nice. Nice. Close. Talks about marriage. ויקח אברהם בן נחור להם נשים, שם אשת אברהם שרי, בשם אשת נחור מילכה בת הרן, אבי מילכה ואבי עסקה. It's marriage, but not the marriage that I was looking for. Okay, but it's good. Thank you. Okay, you got the same Megillah. We're in the same Megillah. Anyways, so it says that the Ohel, the Torah talks about Ohela. Vayomeru ayeh Sara ishtecha, vayomer hine ba'ohel. So what the pasuk says, Beyadata ki shalom ohalecha. When you have a ohel, when your wife is at home, you're going to bring peace. Peace between themselves. Peace between the person and the wife that can affect Irat Shamayim. I'm going to say something now that I heard in the name of a great rabbi. And I think I even read it in Rabbi Arush's book, Gan of Peace, Garden, Began Shalom, the Garden of Peace, wonderful book, that it says that many times the Irat Shamayim of the person can be measured based on their Shalom Bayit. The better the Shalom Bayit, the better the sign is for the husband. And if a person has a lot of issues at home, maybe a person by tweaking, the rabbi says a lot of things that I'm hesitant of saying them publicly because I don't want men to start complaining. Rabbi, what did you say in the class? Now my wife is telling me, listen to the rabbi's class, scroll down to minute 32 and a half and listen till the end of the class. So my intention is not, God forbid, to create issues at home. The opposite. We are having a beautiful day. Thank you again, Mr. Beida, for a magnificent Sauda. Tomorrow we have another one. Yeah. Tomorrow, B'ezrat Hashem, is in memory of my grandfather, Alav Shalom, and Hacham Sion Levi from Panama. They both share the same yard site. So B'ezrat Hashem, we'll have one as well tomorrow. But Bottom line, the great rabbi says that many, many times, out of nowhere, out of nowhere, the wife suddenly has a certain type of reaction. And the husband says, I don't understand. What did I do? I went to work. I did this. I did that. I did this. I did that. Why is she suddenly reacting? So you know what the great rabbi said? That many, many times God, Hashem, communicates to the husband through the wife. And the wife becomes God's mouthpiece, God's speaker. Now, the man may not be happy with what I just said. You agree? I also agree. I also agree. No, 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 but she's listening. She's watching live. And she's going to get it in WhatsApp after. Okay, that's it. I have a solution. Polish yourself. So you know what the great rabbi said? That it is true that sometimes the wife may have a certain type of reaction, that if you ask her, why are you acting this way? She will not know the answer. But you know what the great rabbi said? Ladies, don't take it the wrong way what I just said. It says, true, the neshamot between husband and wife are connected. That's what it is. You cannot say, no, my wife's neshama and my neshama are not connected. If that will be accurate what you're saying, you will not be married to her. The fact that a husband and wife got married means literally that this is part of the tikkun of the neshama. Oh, sometimes a person needs to get divorced and get married to someone else. Of course, situations like this do happen, and we cannot make a general statement because each case needs to be handled by its own thing. Did I tell you the story that happened to me the other day? I got a crazy story last night, but not for today. Not for today. Don't ask. Yes, you. When I say crazy story, no, I need. Look, I tell it to you very simple. The question is so complicated that I told the fellow, I hear the question. I need to make one or two phone calls to get back to you with an answer. Because I don't know. My brain is telling me one answer. But my neshama is telling me, wait. Did you ever feel this? That you have intellectually one thought and you have a gut feeling that is telling you, wait, that's exactly what I'm going through today. Somebody called me up with a very delicate type of question, and as I said in the past, I really don't know the answer to the question. I need to call the big hachamim who deal with extreme cases of questions to give some type of halachic guidance to a very peculiar question coming from someone that I don't even know. But that person was referred by a third party that 10 years ago we did something for them. And I didn't even know who the other person was. He told me the name. He said, you helped them, ta-ta-ta, ti-ti-ti. I said, okay, Hazako Baruch. The person sits next to me. Where are you from? New York, before that? Okay, Tashkent. No, it wasn't for Tashkent. Not even from Uzbekistan, neither. Okay? But anyways, so I'll tell you the story of the fellow who I saw him in a gas station somewhere in Fort Lauderdale. I mean, ask me how many were the chances that I will find this person in a gas station. The occasional people that I find in a gas station, besides Aventura. Aventura is easy, so you see a lot of people. 3 weeks in a row, I go to the supermarket and I see people of the synagogue, coming at the same time. Beautiful. Anyways, so that's fine. But in the middle of nowhere, somewhere in Fort Lauderdale, I realized I have less than a quarter tank of gasoline. I said, you know what? Let me stop by. Let me fill up gasoline. Suddenly, I stop at the pump, I fill up gasoline, I turn around. Who do I see? Another Yehudi with a kippah. That in my life I saw this person twice. Once a year ago, and the other one maybe 4 or 5 years ago. He doesn't even live in the neighborhood. So if I don't go to other shuls, I usually pray here. I don't get to see a lot of people outside of our circle unless I go to a simcha, etc. And I ask him, no, how things, what's going on, what's going on? He tells me what's going on. And in the middle of the conversation, he tells me, I got divorced. Okay, what I'm going to say? There was nothing to do about it. He said, no, Rabbi, it was too late. And what's going on? He says, don't ask. You don't want to know. I said, okay, what happened? I want to hear. When you tell me don't ask, you don't want to know, it's like I tell you, don't ask me what happened yesterday. Don't ask me. I'm not telling it to you. I may tell you the end of the story after I get all the halachic clarifications, just to learn from the questions, because at the end of the day, doesn't the Mishnah write, הרבה לימדתי מרבותיי וגם מחבריי ומתלמידיי יותר מכולם. I learned a lot from my teachers, also from my colleagues, but the most from the students. What does it mean from the students? Hazako Baruch. They ask questions. These are questions, not every question, every scenario, it's written. That's why you got to go to the big Hachamim who have more life experience and they specialize in topics of health, etc. That's the type of question that we are referring to. So to make a long story short, he says, I got divorced. And my first question is, there was nothing to do about it? No. Did you give the get? Yes. What about the civil divorce? Yes. Yes, 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 yes. So what happened next? He says, I moved back into the house. I moved back into the house. So my halachic brain says, hold on a minute. Okay, that's the first thing. How can you move back? So he told me what happened. He says, 48 hours after she received the get, she had a stroke. But the stroke was not related to the get. She had had other incidents earlier. So basically, she is without any kind of physical faculties. So he went back to the Bedin. It says, listen, what do we do? What do I do? It says you cannot cancel the get because the get was already given. On the other hand, he's not going to marry her because, regretfully, she is bedridden without any kind of physical mobilities. But on the other hand, he says, in this type of physical condition, nobody's watching after her. So he went to the Bedin here in town, I believe, or in New York. But he lives somewhere here up north. But he went to the Bedin in New York, and the Bedin told him the following. He says, number one, you need to build a wall in your house with a separate entrance. So you have your private living quarters. You have to bring a nurse to keep an eye on her and to do things. But you need to be ready in the event that there is some type of medical matter until their daughter comes from school. Apparently they have a daughter, a senior, 17, 16 years old. That's what I was told. Or maybe in college. I don't know details because I don't even know the family. I only know the story and I know the person because I spoke to him occasionally. And that's how he needs to live. So he has a separate entrance in the house that they both of them own. And they kept it for the daughter, so to speak. And he has an access for his own private entry. The moment that the daughter comes from school and the aide, he closes the door from inside and the outside, and then he continues with his day-to-day living. Very unfortunate case, but the Hachamim of the Bedin were very wise because, like he said, he can't live under the roof. Okay, Hazako Baruch, what are you going to do? Let her die by herself? Hachamim have Aineha Ida. When the Torah calls the great Hachamim the eyes, it's not stam an exaggerated title. Today, I have to deal with the case that I received last night. I'm going to call the Hachamim. I'm going to speak to the people that can guide me what to advise and make the shidduch. That's what I do often. I'm a shatchan. Sometimes I do shidduchim for shidduchim, but sometimes, somebody came to me the other day. He asked me an interesting business halacha matter. I said to the person, I believe that you need a heter iska. I don't think that the way you're handling your business is the proper kosher way. I got 3 cases. 2 of them were very practical. I did the shidduch. And the 3rd one, I said, let me call the Bedin. Let me put the case. This was a partnership. I believe was a partnership, something like that. There were 3 cases. One was a family loan. That was an investment return. The 3rd one was some type of partnership between family members, and one was paying and the other ones were collecting. Bekitzur, I smell the halachic question. I pose the question to the Bedin. The Bedin says, Rabbi, you are correct. It's not something that is a free ride. We need to stipulate certain halachic guidelines. And Baruch Hashem, all of them already spoke to the Bedin, and the Bedin is handling all the documentation. So when I say I'm a shatchan, not only for marriage, sometimes for matters that we come across live, but one of the things that rabbis need to know, number one, I say, to know their limitations. And if to say, I don't know the answer, is necessary, do it. And if you're able to go the extra mile and refer or tell the person, I'm not sure of how to handle this case, but contact this Bedin or contact this rabbi that is an expert in your type of questions, we fulfill our halachic responsibility. Obviously, we are able to help directly. Matovo Manaim. The Gemara concludes and it says, through the concept of marriage, the Torah becomes more meaningful, more clear, more beracha, more peace, more harmony, more irat shamayim. And at the end of the day, as he said a few moments ago, lezakot, to polish ourselves. Once we achieve that, we are in the right track. To the gentleman in front of me, I will say, have a great day, Hazako Baruch. To the virtual audience, 11 o'clock, we start the Tehillim class in Spanish. Baruch Adonai Le'olam, Amen Be'amen. Rabbi Hananiah ben Akashia Omer, רצה הקדוש ברוך הוא לזכות